Now, this is a story, what has been around during the day. And I have to say, I normally keep my head completely around the news. This one hit me fairly late in the day. Twitter has banned the US president's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., from tweeting for 12 hours. The punishment followed a post by Donald Trump Jr. containing a video discussing the benefits claimed of I knew I was going to get this wrong. Hydroxychloroquine. Thank you. I don't know what's wrong with me. I normally can get these words. Having read the news feeds. Hydroxychloroquine.
That's it. You got it now. You've got
to roll the R. Hydroxychloroquine. Twitter said the post had violated its COVID-19 misinformation rules. This has happened during a boycott by some Twitter users who were refusing to log onto the website for 48 hours to protest, as we talked about last night. Yeah. The slow reaction to the anti-Semitic tweets by the grime artist Wiley, which are still being checked by the authorities. Wiley today has also been banned by Facebook, where he's also posted anti-Semitic posts. Let's get on now. Jon Morter, social media expert. John, thank you for listening to all of that. Thank you for coming on. Donald Trump Jr., I just gave a thumbnail sketch of it there. Thumbnail, literally, in digital terms. What exactly is he said to have done?
Well, good evening, Howard Dash. Yeah. So what actually happened was that...
Give a thumbnail sketch of it there. Thumbnail, literally, in digital terms. What exactly is he said to have done?
Well, good evening, Howard Dash. Yeah. So what actually happened was that Donald Trump Jr. tweeted a video which included a group of supposed doctors called America's Frontline Doctors, and they were discussing basically giving it's an anti-malaria drug, isn't it? I don't know, have a try now. Hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Is that right?
I'm getting it all wrong tonight, by the way. I think I called you Mortimer after the playwright. I'm sorry, it's Jon Morter. Sorry, John.
I'll let you off. I get it all the time. Don't worry. No. So that's basically what happened. And, so obviously a lot of complaints about it. But it got taken down by Twitter fairly quickly. And obviously he was given a 12-hour ban. And for reasons because they felt that the tweet posed a risk to people's health, and it went against their COVID-19 guidance, which they've had from authorities. So that's basically what happened. And but I think what's sort of come about here is that how quick they acted, because they did act pretty quick on this. And you mentioned about the situation with Wiley. Which took about a week to actually sort of get that dealt with. So I think perhaps there could be a link, perhaps, I don't know. But, it's on one side, it's commendable that Twitter acted so quickly. And then you've got the other side of it where you think, well, okay, could they have acted a bit quicker on some of the other situations?
Well, they sanctioned President Trump, didn't they, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, and also I believe that Donald, the president, tweeted the same video, or I think he might have retweeted it possibly, but he wasn't banned. It was just delete the actual tweet.
But he threatened them, so maybe it's a bit of tit for tat,
Very possibly, yes. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
What about Donald Trump Jr., though? We know that Donald Trump himself, he's not a great sleeper, we understand, and sometimes he will send out tweets at 3 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes the world will regret them later. Does Donald Trump Jr. have a track record?
If I'm brutally honest with you, Howard, I don't know. I don't know
exactly. You see, I didn't know either. Maybe this is a first offence kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, because if I'm not Donald Trump or his family's biggest fan, so I don't follow any of them on Twitter myself. So
apparently, he does a lot of supportive tweets to the president, as he would do.
I believe they all do, don't they? And so if that's the case, they're going to be pretty much from the same hymn sheet. So. I would be guessing to say that he's had some questionable tweets in the past. Donald Trump Jr., very possibly. I can't say that because I don't follow him. And this is actually the first proper Donald Trump Jr. tweet that I've looked at, really because of the situation. Otherwise, there's no way I would have looked at anything he says. I wouldn't have listened to him.
No. It might have been who knows? It may have been his first tweet, in which case it's doubly unfortunate, really. So is this indicative, do you think, of a new, tougher line by Twitter?
I hope so, in a way. I mean, Twitter has had a little bit of a minor reputation of not exactly being the quickest off the mark when it comes to deleting content which is hateful. I mean, we could go into a complete a different subject about Katie Hopkins, but where things have taken so long to get rid and delete harmful and hateful speech. So the fact that this has happened so quick, I think, is a good thing. I think that you can't get away with, especially during COVID-19, and if you're going to tweet out evidence that is really a big risk to people's health, you've got to act quickly. So you've got to commend Twitter for that.
Yeah, but what do you think about them not back? Didn't they ban Katie Hopkins permanently?
Yes, they did.
I mean, shouldn't they be using that more often, like with Wiley and certain cases like that?
Yeah, possibly. I think they look at they do look at the history of an account when they do that. So again, I don't know. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Wiley's music, so he's not someone that I've followed. So I don't know if he's got a reputation for continuously coming out with anti-Semitism, whereas obviously with the Hopkins situation, she was pretty much known for it, for the nasty tweets.
So 24 hours of anti-Semitism, that's all right. We'll just suspend you for 12 hours, but if you do any more and it's permanent...
well, anti-Semitism is bad, isn't it, really?
Exactly.
I think...
I think just kick him off, man. Just kick him off.
They could well do. They could well do. I mean, I saw the content of some of his tweets and they were pretty gross. So, hey, it really wouldn't shock me in the slightest if they banned his account. Yeah.
What about ordinary users of Twitter, though? Those who... I mean, people post all kinds of things on Twitter and social media in general, and sometimes they might be kicked off for the things that they say and the stands that they take, quite rightly. But of course, with ordinary people who are not kind of celebrities and famous, I guess there's always the problem that they can recreate themselves. They can make another, they can create another identity and simply start it all over again. How does social media deal with that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's been an issue for many years on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram now as well, where it's easy to make another account. If the difference with Donald Trump Jr. and the difference with Wiley, etc., is that they are verified accounts with the little blue tick on the side. So it's not as easy for them to go, right, okay, well, I'm starting again. Yes, they'll have a fan base, but yes, with the ordinary person out there, that is an issue, and it always has been for many years. Fake accounts.
Did they stop the blue tick thing? Didn't they?
They didn't stop it, no, but they stopped how there was a situation where on Twitter you could apply for one for a short while, and they stopped the applications. And I believe it's Twitter's discretion on who gets a blue tick and who doesn't, basically. And it doesn't always correlate. That some people get blue ticks that you really can't quite understand why, and there are other quite well-known people that haven't got one yet. So, it's a tricky one.
Now, Jon Morter, can I ask you a strange left-field question that's been bugging me for a little while? I have a Facebook page for My Unexplained Show. It covers both my podcast and the radio show that's on Sunday nights here on TalkRadio. And it gets a lot of response, a growing amount of response now. And if I post, I am filling in for James Whale on this thing, my friends on that particular Facebook page will send me messages of support, and it's wonderful to hear from them, and I know that they're listening all over the world right now. So that's one of the great upsides of social media. And because, I'm polite, and I like to know that, I thank you very much for taking the time to write whatever you've written and for supporting me, I will always put a like on those things. And I think you might know what I'm about to say here, because I find that sometimes those likes disappear. And I think that might be some kind of policy. Is it?
Not that I'm aware of.
This is very mysterious, this is.
No, I seem to remember reading something that I'm going to try and find it online as well on my phone here as we speak. But I just think there was something about liking you being limited in the number of likes. I might be completely. There'll be a listener who will.
Maybe they don't actually like you, Howard. I mean, that's they've limited.
I see what
that's impossible.
Now.
Maybe they're removing the likes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I see.
They hate me.
You may possibly have hit a wall with. Sometimes there is an algorithm on Facebook that possibly assumes that you might be spamming. If you're doing exactly the same action over and over and over again, they might limit you possibly So where, yes, you can like something and it'll instantly come off again. I personally have had that. I have to be honest with you. Something I've come up against a wall on before. So if it's that could be what it is.
They couldn't believe how liked Howard is. That's the trouble. But he is a very likable. He's a very likable person.
No, it's just
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there in bed after a show, or before I'm due to do something the next day, and I look at the comments from people that come in from regular listeners and new people all the time. And, I always like to give them a like if they've been kind enough to take the trouble and time to write something. And sometimes I'll wake up the next morning and the likes will have gone. Not all of them.
Maybe you dreamt that you liked it.
Maybe this is part of lockdown. Perhaps this is part of my general mental deterioration. Who knows, Ash? I mean, God, you've made me think about something else now. I'm still trying to find this story if I come up with it, but if my
You need to get out
knows,
more, Howard.
I do. Well, I certainly need to get out, ride a bike, I think, more, which we will be talking about. There's another Alan Partridge-style link here. But, social media, isn't it, John? It is such a double-edged sword, because sometimes we think, oh, God, do I have to look at so-and-so bigging themselves up again? And, sometimes it's just a little bit too much. But we need it. If we want to get the message out there, it is an absolutely vital adjunct to any of us who do kind of public things like I do and Ash does. These days, it's become utterly indispensable.
Well, it's too powerful, though, isn't it, in a way? There needs to be laws against, because they can really change your life if they shut down your account, especially if you're in a commercial business. Say you've got an eBay account or something and they shut down because you've done something. It can really change your life. Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. It's so intrinsic now.
Yeah.
It's so intrinsic now with what we do that you're right. It's almost if your account gets even blocked for a little while, which I have to be honest, I've had occasionally here and there. You're more. I have, yeah, and that's a long story for another time, perhaps. But it can happen a lot easier. For example, I had my account was temporarily banned for 3 days not that long ago because I posted an image of the Premier League sign about 9 years ago, and the Premier League decided that they didn't. Yeah, exactly. And had they actually messaged to say, could you take that down that you posted in 2011? I would quite happily have gone, yes, no problem. Yeah, so there is dangers of that as well. So the power that these social media platforms have it's quite high. Yeah. But for me personally, I mean, social media changed my life. Really, it completely changed my career, and my life went in an absolutely different direction because of it. So it's very intrinsic to a lot of people.
Here comes another left field question. You're going to love me for this one.
Fire away, Howard. Fire away.
We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, and we love them. Is there going to be room? I mean, there's Instagram too, but do you think there is room for another big player now, or is that it? Have they cornered so much of the market that's going to be until we discover new digital technologies that are as yet undreamed of? That's it.
Well, there are other platforms. You've got Snapchat, which is huge. All my kids use Snapchat, and they won't be seen dead using Facebook. So I think it's ever evolving. There are other platforms out there.
MySpace.
Oh yeah, of course, Ash. Yes, MySpace.
No, but
you're still on that, Ash, aren't you?
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. It's still really good, man. No one visits.
They haven't banned you yet.
But Zoom is coming and. No, they have, but Zoom has come in and shaken things up, hasn't it? So it does show that he can come along and just take over.
See, I would argue that Zoom is more of a tool than a social network, because you don't sort of have friends on there as such. You use Zoom almost as a tool to talk to other people, right. Bit like WhatsApp, where it's not
now
really.
Now you put it like that, it's a rubbish point, wasn't it? Really.
Go back to MySpace, Ash.
Yeah. No, you're right.
We've got to draw a digital line under this. Jon Morter, not to be confused with Jon Mortimer. No. Thank you very much. Fascinating stuff. I must talk to you on my Sunday night show if you have time, John. Thank you. Jon Morter, social media expert there, Ash.
Very interesting,
we all have our
presence
on social media, don't we?
It's interesting, isn't it?
I had to be dragged, I have to say.